welcome today and a lot of days. If you're going to binge these all together, then welcome just in the last couple of days to the Tag and Brando podcast.
Thank you.
That is Taggart.
Hi.
That you just heard.
That's me.
I'm Brandon. How are you today, Taggart?
Oh my goodness. Doing quite well. Thank you for asking.
How are you a this isn't the question of the day, but are you a podcast binger? Like, will you just kind of hold off on podcasts and listen to them back to back, or are you like a every week?
No, I
roll out.
No, when I had a job, and I apologize for those who have jobs, if that's offensive to you. I don't mean to be offensive,
job.
But when I had a job, I could listen to them while I worked, and so yes, that was the time of binging, and I did listen to some podcasts just straight through, and
right.
Oh, this is interesting. I'll listen to the first one and then all the way through to the current day, and I can't keep up with them every week. I'm at this point I can't listen to a podcast unless I'm like driving, like.
Oh, really?
I mean, I can, but I can't pay attention to it. Like, there's too much other stuff going on, you know? So, and I'm not good at listening to podcasts when I'm not doing something.
You're not good at listening to podcasts when you're not doing something.
Let me explain. Like something mindless. So
you're
right. So
right.
I'm driving, but it's
mowing
mindless. I don't have to worry about right, something like that. But like taking care of children. Like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you alive? Are you alive? Like, I can't.
Right.
I can't be like, oh, let me listen to this podcast. Oh, that is a funny quip. Oh, child is choking on a marble. Like, it's not good.
Okay. Good
times.
To know that you have your priorities.
You know, things happen, people change, whatever. So yeah, I would say sure. I started listening to a podcast last week, but it was because I drove to Denver, and I found it somehow. Oh, I was looking at my podcast, like, what should I look at? What should I listen to? And one of my podcasts that I used to listen to, that's basically over. It was like a limited thing. Had like a little trailer for a new one that this guy was doing. And I was like, oh, I'll just listen to that. That'll be great. And so I listened to like a few of those kind of in a row because I had to drive up and a drive back and had a little time there. But, yeah. And the other time I do it is when my daughter will not sleep, so I drive in the car, put her in the back.
Oh, wow.
Fall asleep, maybe. It doesn't happen that much, but last week it did, and I listened to the last episode of that podcast that I was listening to that I didn't get to finish. So, thanks, baby, but also go to sleep.
Somebody needs to just have a car simulator that
there is such a thing.
Right, but I mean, like, I'm talking like a bubble that you put your child in that is virtually indistinguishable. You know?
Yeah,
well, they have like the rockers and the everything.
No,
but I'm
weren't you telling me about that? Some guy who actually made one. Was that you or was that not you?
It was probably not me.
Okay,
I just thought of this.
This seems to add up. No, seriously, some dude, and I don't remember. Like, this is from another source. I did not see this firsthand or in a video or anything like this. Somebody just told me that some guy had made a car simulator to put his child to sleep. It is complete hearsay. Enjoy it here and say maybe in the future.
Right.
But yeah, he built it so that he could put the the baby carrier in there. And then it did the whole thing and generated the road noise and the bumps and the turns and the whatevers. And that's how he would put his baby to bed.
Because that's the weirdest thing about it is, like, you would think that even if it was like a steady motion, like a rocking kind of thing, and they have the swings and bassinets and
right
baby things, even like just like back and forth and back and forth, get yourself a little baby hammock. That rhythmic kind of thing works, but it's interesting to me that a car that is somewhat rhythmic in the fact that, like, you know, the engine and the tires and everything like that, but like turning and bumps and everything cause a little bit of a different,
I'll tell you, kids sensation. I think it's the kids are smart. They understand when you're trying to put them to sleep. And so if the rhythm is too consistent, they're like, oh, nuh-uh, I know what you're trying to do, and they will fight you.
Right.
But a car's sneaky because they're like, oh, we're driving somewhere. This is great. And it's inconsistent enough that they're just not like, maybe they're trying to put me to sleep. And then
and I'm completely restrained.
Right.
And
can't move. Where are we going, Dad? It's 12.
It is late. It is night.
But that baby can't read time. Anyways, so yeah, there's my 2 cents on that. Is that what you wanted to know today?
Well, I have a interest in another portion of your life.
Oh, okay.
Actually, like this is really about like your life as a whole, I guess.
Okay.
So
my
for
life
the question
in
of
a
the day,
hole.
Yes. In a nutshell, one might say.
Oh, in a hole, in a nutshell. Okay.
Yeah, we are burying this nut, letting it sit, digging it up, and then somebody's going to write about it. And the question is, what do they have to go off of? So, really, the question is, in light of, like, you know, Hamilton being on Disney Plus, and everybody's talking about it again, and you know, and all this kind of different stuff. If you watch like a biography of people from, you know, anywhere, even like 50 years ago or anything like that, it just fascinates me to know that there's documents out there that chronicle this person's life, and letters that, you know, they're like, oh, well, this person didn't like this person, or this person was in love with this person, and that back and forth and whatever. And it even kind of comes up in, spoiler alert, Hamilton, where like they don't know like a couple of key points, right? They like say like no one else was in the room when this happened, and his wife, you know, stopped writing, and so we don't know how she really reacted to this,
right,
and things like that. But everything else is, there's so many other things that are like in greatest detail, you know, like we have a literal shot by shot account of certain things. And so that all aside, what material in your life would give a biographer enough to kind of put together a couple of chapters?
I think
the Taggart Gillespie story.
The most that they would have, well, I don't know if this is true, but the most written information that they would have would be from my baby book and from a journal I took when I wrote when I was a child, from about when I was 8 till
oh, really?
But very sporadically. From when I was 8 till high school, I wrote a few things sometimes. So it was a couple things.
I wrote a few things sometimes.
A couple things a year or something, and I'd like, I should write about my life. Someone might want to know about how boring my life is. But I guess now we have this chronicle of the podcast. So
I know, I thought about that.
Some of that information's in there now too, for, you know, some bigger stories or whatever, fuller pictures or whatnot. But yeah, if you're going on writings, that would be it. Not a lot to go on. They'd be like, he was a kid, he liked Legos,
right?
He liked He-Man. That's about it.
I know, it's crazy to think about. I mean, you think about like love letters and everything going back and forth, and so you're thinking like, oh, well, there's like text messages. But text messages tell you they tell you a lot, but also very little in the same breath. You know what I mean?
Text is good for a quote, but it's not necessarily good for for like a whole picture type scenario.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like, did you like in the pillow fort versus blanket fort, Pillsbury versus blanket town of Community, when they made that kind of documentary style?
I vaguely remember. Yes.
Then they have like text messages between Annie and Jeff and everything like that. And it's just like, I do what I can. Text message, Jeff Winger. And it's just like, heard you gave the same speech to some people on the other side. WTF, frowny face. And everything like that. And so like, like, I just think like text messages and stuff like that are, I mean, sometimes you can carry on a whole conversation and, it gets really in depth and everything like that. But
yeah, but it's still just
I'm thinking back when like text messages used to be like 100 or 250 characters, and like that was it.
That's what you got, right?
And so you had to like abbreviate the crap out of them and everything like that, like to get everything you could out of a text.
When you used to have to pay per text.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I guess the other thing that they might have something to go off of, if they could figure out the timelines and whatnot, are songs that I wrote.
Ooh, okay.
Which
your discography.
My discography, which is not huge.
Not ready on discs.
No, there's some of them that have demo recordings, and that's about it. Off my computer. Let's see, but that kind of just gives a brief picture, a selective picture of things happening from when I was, in my 20s to 30s, basically. Not much else in the realm of that, except for The French Astronaut, which was before that. But
yeah,
can't win them all.
You should put The French Astronaut in this. Do you have a digital copy?
I don't think I have a recording of The French Astronaut.
It's good stuff.
I will see if I can work one up, but I don't think I have it. And
well, listener, you'll know if it shows up or not.
Right.
At the end of the segment.
I'll have to try to remember all the words.
Right.
Because I don't know. It's one of those that I wrote on a piece of paper, and then I never typed it up later. Because I was young and not very smart. I wrote that song in high school. So I'll see if I can dig it up. So it might not make it on this episode, but maybe we can attach it somewhere. I'll start my SoundCloud and put it out for everyone to listen to.
There you go.
I don't know. We'll talk later.
Yeah, because I'm thinking back, like, there's a couple of letters back and forth. As far as journaling goes, I am a horrible journaler.
Yeah.
Like, not just in frequency but in content. Stephanie and I recently went through a couple of my journals and stuff like that, and they are just like nonsense. Like,
what do you mean? Are you at least chronicling the day, or are you just kind of like,
nope?
It's more just like a freeform, off the dome kind of writing situation.
It's Ulysses, like, with worse spelling, I guess. Like, it is bad. It is bad. And like, I'm speaking to myself and to the audience who's reading it.
Okay.
Like, I have a very weird, like, existential type writing style, in that I write as if I'm like running
out of time.
Well, just trying to get ahead of like what I'm gonna say
right
to the audience member. So it's not like some kind of like, dear diary, like I saw the, this or whatever. Like there's this one part like that got like really dark, not like
Nice.
crazy dark, but it like for me, I guess
there.
it got pretty dark.
Yeah.
But even still, I talk about how I'm not writing as much as I should be because I'm editing it, so I don't want the person reading it to be to think of me as, depressed and everything as I feel, because I don't feel that I'm that depressed normally. So I don't want them to have that mindset of me by this text. So I'm censoring it in the moment because I know a future moment I'll be like, yeah, it was not that bad. It's weird. It's really weird.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just because I don't know. It's like when I commit it to paper, for some reason, I'm like, you have to stick by this forever. Like,
right.
This isn't like you are putting this down and this is now you, and people are going to read this and they're going to think, oh my gosh, this guy was this or this guy was that, and stuff like that. So I like really contemplate what I'm like half contemplate what I'm writing. If I'm writing about something else, I'll just be like, yeah, fluty flu, flotty flu, blah, blah. Like, nobody cares about this other thing. But I'm, like, writing about myself. I'm like, hold up. If I'm going to put, like, my signature at the bottom of this, I need to be able to, like, come back to it later and be like, yep, I still stand by that. And so it's not very... it's honest, but it's not very... like overt, it's not very.
It's tough. You're trying to complete the picture before you're like fully formed as a person, but you're like, I gotta stand by these things. That's difficult to do.
Yeah. So like, yeah, it's very interesting in that respect and everything. So, and it doesn't talk about anything that I did, like. You read my whole journal from when I was a missionary in Canada, and you're like, "Oh, he was a missionary in Canada." I got none of that.
Really?
I like it's all like, it's like, what's weird, and then I'll write about something completely, like the day will make me think of something, like somebody being rude. I'm like, somebody was really rude to me today, and I'm not like. They came in and they said this and I responded like this and da-da-da, and why can't people just be nice and blah, blah, blah. It's more like being rude is a form of ignorance. And and I'll just like lecture on this.
Lecture on rudeness, yeah.
Yeah, for this thing for like 2 or 3 pages.
Yeah, that should be our next podcast. You should just read to us about being rude.
Oh, man. It's bad. I mean, I'll maybe read an excerpt or something, but yeah, that's the kind of thing it is. And so like if I read it, within a year's time, I could have been like, oh yeah, that's because this guy, like said that, I was fat or stupid or whatever.
Right, but like 5 years later, you're gonna be like, I don't know what happened that day.
I don't know. Somebody was probably a jerk to me in line at the grocery store or something, or maybe I saw somebody yelling at their kids or something. I don't know. Like, and that's kind of the problem and everything. Because I mean, if somebody wrote a biography of my life, there's probably parts of it where I'd be like, really? Did that happen?
I'm not sure. I'd like to see your sources.
Yeah, and so
that's funny.
But yeah, like I think, yeah, you think about like writing letters and everything like that, like. Those definitely letters. I have like a specific format where you like tell a story, like an actual like event that happened.
Okay.
You give some kind of like like this, especially like on the mission, you give like some kind of inspirational, like, hey, I'm doing great because this and this and this, and then you send like a picture with like a little story on the back of that. Those were like my 3 criteria. Is like
nice.
You give them updates, you give them a story, you give them a spiritual uplift, and then you give them a picture minimum.
Nice.
Stuff like that. So,
well, that's a good point. I did write a few letters to my family and things like that during the mission time. probably the most letters time that I ever, had. Back in our time, that's how you had to contact your family, except for like once a week we could email. But yeah.
Oh, yeah. So the best part about that, the emailing thing, is my mom, like, she knew about the time that I would get to the library and email.
Oh, really?
And so she would usually wait for like right before that. So say I got out of the apartment and that was like the first thing that we did. So I like at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, beeline it to the library so there's no line. Get on a computer, read and respond to emails. So like that's like 8 a.m. in Mountain Time or whatever. So she would wait till like 7:30 and like write her letter because she wanted it like updated, like this is what's going on in the week, all this kind of different stuff.
Like right away you get it and you get basically up to the minute information.
But there were some times when she wouldn't get to her computer in time, so then it's like, oh no, he's already responded to, he's already written me, so I missed writing him a letter this week. And instead of just sitting down and writing a letter right then, she would be like, oh, well, I'll wait till next week and give him a full update of like the last 2 weeks. And sometimes, not often, but sometimes that again got skipped. So there'd be like 3 weeks where I'm like, I don't know if my family's dead or alive or what. And, not as bad as other missionaries had it in, past times or people in general, just whatever. But it's just like, funny. Oh, okay, well, I'm just writing this letter to someone I hope is going to read it because, so on and so forth. So, yeah, it's just like, just write it. Just respond back. It doesn't matter if it's a week old because the information's going to be a week old anyway.
Right.
Yeah. And it's interesting because that kind of plays into, I really want to come up with a name or find out if there's a name for this kind of phenomenon. And this is how I feel about like journaling and stuff too. Where the more contact you have with somebody, the more details you're wanting to share with them. Whereas if you lose contact with them for a while, you don't sit there for like 9 hours and go through every single day.
Right.
The more contact the more time that passes without giving somebody an update, the less information you share with them. And that's like kind of ironic to me where it's like, yeah, if you see somebody every single day, it's like, how was your day? Oh my gosh. So my alarm doesn't go off. And well, okay, it like went off, but it like, didn't go off like long enough maybe. So like I heard it in my dream, but then like I didn't wake up and then so I was like a couple minutes, late getting into the shower. And so I had to take a faster shower. Usually I like to, like leave the conditioner in for a full 5, but I'm just like rushing it out and everything. Like you're given this minutia that nobody really like that. Sometimes people care about. I think that's what a loving relationship really is like you care about these, minutiae and everything.
Right.
Whereas you haven't seen somebody in like a year and it's just like, how's it going, man? Great. How are you? I'm good.
I'm also
awesome.
Good. Well, dude, yeah. It's weird. It's weird because I feel like you want to go into that kind of detail. Well, not always, but sometimes when it's like a good friend that you haven't talked to in a long, long time, you're like, I want to add all that detail in there, but I don't really know if they want that, or also like you can go in too quick with too much, and then they're like, I can't respond to all this.
Right.
So it's just like we give them the bullet points, and then if they want more information, then we can go into it. But
yeah, I'd say the perfect example is you and me, where like when we were hanging out every day and like giving each other like the blow by blow of like all this stuff, and we would sit in the car and talk until literally like, you know, the milkman shows up and everything like that. Whereas when I got back from Canada, we hadn't seen each other in 4 years.
Right.
And it was kind of just like, hey, man, hey.
What's up? What you doing?
So, Spider-Man 2, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's just, yeah. I mean, you can fall back into it. You can fall in and out and everything. But that's just an interesting phenomenon to me. Like, yeah, if you're on daily, then yeah, you got to update somebody on the daily or update somebody by the week, but it gets less and less detailed.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's weird.
So I need to coin a term for that. So I'll come up with that.
Yeah, you work on that.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
But yeah, in the meantime, why don't we trigger something in our memories?
Well, I wanted to talk today about free time.
Free time.
Free time.
Okay.
Most specifically, when was the last time, and you can be general if you don't know specifically, but when was the last time that you had a day where you actually didn't have to do anything?
A day when I didn't have to do anything.
Anything.
So,
not necessarily a day that you're like, I have stuff to do, but I'm not doing anything.
That's like the Jim Gaffigan, like, is there ever a day when you've had so much to do that you just don't do anything? You're just like, oh, man. It's kind of like this, explaining your day to somebody. You're like, oh, it's too much to explain.
Right.
I'll just not explain any of it. But, no, I definitely have had those kinds of days. So I'm thinking like, I'm thinking like when I was at like my previous job and everything, like, you know, I wasn't in school and it was just like a regular, you know, not even 9 to 5. It was like 6 to 3, right?
Ooh.
6:30, 6 to 3 and everything like that. And so I had a lot of like, you know, afternoon time and everything like that. But then like Saturdays and Sundays, were just kind of my own thing. You know, I didn't have anything to do. And so I just remember one day just, not really having anything to do. And so a lot of times when that happens, I'll just clean.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, like, I mean, usually there's like a time when I need to like clean because, you know, back in that day, it was like cleaning checks for the apartment, or, you know, you got somebody coming over, or you're doing a little shindig or something like that. But like a lot of times when I'm just sitting around doing nothing, basically, like my thing is to kind of just put on some kind of show, or like, you know, put on some music and just, you know, and just do some deep cleaning. Because I mean, I guess it's not something I need to do necessarily, but it's something that is always kind of there, right? You know, you're always kind of just like, oh man, like let's just finally like just pull this fridge out and see what's going on back there, or, you know, sweep underneath the stove or something like that, and like, you know, really get in there and everything like that. And so and that's one of the things I find is a deep cleaning actually, like, I don't know, I get, because a lot of times it's like, oh, I'm just gonna clean the surface, like I don't want to get into that. Like I really don't want to move this, I don't want to pick up this couch because I don't want to know what's in there, you know. And then there's like that other time where you're just like, I know I got the time to do this, I don't have anything else, so that's it. I'm doing, like, I'm pulling the couch cushions off, I'm pulling the upholstery, you know, unzipping the cushion covers,
Gross.
washing those,
It's never
and
good.
everything. You know, doing the thing where you press down the springs and like try to grab all the stuff that's like falling in the crack there, and then vacuuming it all out and everything like that. Like really getting down in there, like pulling everything out of the fridge, cleaning all the fridge surfaces so it gets that nice like bleach kind of smell. And everything, putting it all back. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Like that's on a day that's not like, hey, you have to clean, you know, because if you have to clean because somebody's coming over, it's like, okay, what is all the surface stuff that I need to do?
Yeah,
you know,
it's got to be presentable.
Like, yeah, I got to vacuum, I got to sweep, and I got to get these counters done, and da-da-da-da. Okay, that's that, you know, there's so much surface that needs to be cleaned, whereas a day when I don't have anything to do is like, you know what? We're going to finally see what's going on top of this, you know, on top of this bookshelf. Okay. Whoa. This is going to take a while.
Yeah, it seems like it needed my attention 5 days ago.
Or years or something, yeah.
Yeah. Increments of 5.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I noticed about cleaning the other day.
Yeah.
Dryer lint, right?
What about it?
If you're pulling out your dryer, right, moving or whatever, and you got your like dryer lint tube and everything, and it like, you know, just dumps and stuff like that, you kind of feel like, oh, that's gross. Oh, there's so much, you know, stuff there, right?
Yeah.
But when you think about it, dryer lint is one of the cleanest things in a certain sense in your house.
Well, it's the cleanest.
It is literally
it's the cleanest lint you can find for sure.
It's the cleanest like bits of dust that you can find, because it's literally been through the washer, gotten all that kind of stuff, and then it's been through the dryer where it's been heated, and it's just tiny bits of your clothes that is just like, oh, dryer lint is so great. It's like, no, dryer lint is like great.
Fine.
Like
Fine.
dryer lint is fine. You know, it's not gonna have like mites or bugs or anything as much as all the rest of this dirt around here, because it's just been washed and heated and, you know, just blown through a tube. So I just thought about that. I was like, oh wait,
Think about the genius.
not that bad.
Think about the genius who figures out in the future how to make clothes out of dryer lint. Think about it. Think about it.
how to get those tiny fibers into the long strands that you need.
I'm just saying. Endless loop. Endless loop. Right there.
Yeah. Endless loom.
Oh.
That's what you would call it.
Nice.
Nice.
Wait,
What day have you had nothing on the docket? And
So the thing that I can think of so the last time I think that we really had days where we didn't have to do anything was probably when we were in Korea.
okay.
Not every weekend, but most weekends we didn't have anything that we had to do.
Right.
Like, we could clean, you know, we could do our house or whatever, our little apartment, but like we could do that. If we decided to go do something, we could do that when we got home. Our apartment was 300 square feet. It was teeny. It didn't take much to clean it. But we literally had nothing to do on Saturdays, most weekends. So we'd usually go out and go somewhere, but like we didn't have to do anything for work. We didn't, and I mean that's all we really had when we were in Korea was work. So, like I said, not always. Sometimes there was things, but most Saturdays we didn't have anything to do, anything that we had to do.
Right. But I mean, you're in a foreign country, man. You can do whatever.
Well, yeah, plenty of stuff we can do and plenty of stuff we might want to do. But it wasn't like we had a responsibility on most Saturdays to do these different things. Yeah, not too much. Not too much like that. There were definitely some Saturdays where my wife was like, let's go do something. Let's go see something. And I was like, I want to lay in this bed That's what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go anywhere. So there was that. Yeah. And I guess right after that, when we went backpacking through Southeast Asia after we left Korea. We didn't really have to do anything on any of those days. We just chose all the things that we did. Not entirely true. There were days when we had to catch buses,
fly or drive.
Right.
Yeah.
Or we were going to be stuck in a place longer than we wanted to be, or whatever. Or we already bought the tickets, so we better make that happen. But yeah, the majority of the days were like, let's go walk around and see what we see. So yeah. So, that was a while ago now. That was like 5 years ago that we left.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a minute. And I don't think any day since then has been an open day. I don't think I've ever had a day since where I didn't have to do something. It was something that should be done.
And that's kind of the thing is you got this like perpetual to-do list.
Oh my gosh, dude. Yeah.
Which is just like, I really need to fix that, or I really need to like write that, or I need to reorganize this, or I need to, clean that, or whatever. And it's just
and that's just, I think a part of the reason that I came up with this question is that I feel that adult life is kind of like, how do we get to the point where that list is as small as possible, and then how can we maintain that level?
Right.
Because we don't want a ton to do. A little's fine. We don't have to do nothing, but I wanted a comfortable list level that, if I wanted to bust it out in a day, maybe I could have a free day if I really wanted to. Just to get that list shorter, but then still be able to survive and make money and all that stuff. So,
right.
So, anyways, I've been thinking about that a little bit. No insights necessarily, but there you go.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting too, because when you have something to do, or you have your list and everything like that, and at the same time you also want just free time during the day,
right.
You maybe come up with your checklist of stuff so that you can take the last couple hours and just be like, you know what, this is downtime. This is what, I've accomplished what I needed to do today, and this is my me time, free time, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Kind of a thing. And it is interesting that my boss recently was just like, you need to like plan out your day and like schedule like all the different projects you're going to be working on for that day, and like all the little things that come up, have like a little side to-do list, and it feels really good to check things off and and I'm like, yeah, but I mean, you just spend so much time planning, like
right,
like planning, and I quoted the mixed up files of Paige gonna get mad at me. What is it?
I know what you mean. The one where they live in the museum.
Yes. Oh, I think I'm gonna blame it on the movie.
Oh, sure.
Because I think they changed the name of it in the movie. I can't remember. It's the mixed up files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler,
yeah.
Yes. And so
you got there.
They so they say like, and I'm going to mess up the quote as well. It's like 5 minutes of planning is worth like 15 minutes of searching or something like that. And they basically sit down and kind of come up with a plan and all that kind of different stuff. And it doesn't even work. Their plan doesn't work, and they figure out the secret like in the last few seconds.
Right.
and everything anyway. But it's it's an interesting notion where it's just like, but at the same time, I feel like there's sometimes when it's like, this plan has taken forever, where we could have just done the thing already,
Right.
and been done, and
Right.
so I don't know. That's just kind of how it goes sometimes. But it's from the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frank Weiler.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I mean, and that's a tough balance, man. I feel I definitely know when planning has taken too long.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when the threshold is, but like when you're starting to like get like, you can feel it. You're like, okay, obviously we've been doing this way too long. Like, what are we gonna do? All we need to do is something.
Right.
What's going on?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I think you just. I'm gonna put a plug in for us talking about our train trip. The next series here is because that is one of the prime examples of just like, you got to plan it out, but even when you plan, sometimes you're stranded in the middle of a foreign country with nowhere to stay because you planned it a month ago and that person didn't show up. Whereas when you call somebody else, 2 days before or 3 days before or whatever, they show up at midnight at the train station, no questions asked,
right,
and have breakfast for you that next morning.
Right.
So that is, you got to be able to strike that balance. But yeah, man, what's should we go to new?
Sure. Yeah, let's hit up the new. Hit up the
old,
new.
Something new. All right, what is the new?
All right, so
I feel like we should have like a news broadcast, like here today we have.
Today on the new.
Ooh,
that was just middle C. You're welcome. Today on the new. So okay, this weekend we all right. So for those that don't know, my band leader has bought us a tour vehicle.
Okay.
All right. He has bought us a Ford shuttle bus.
So it is a tour bus, one would say.
You could say it's a bus.
Okay.
It is, it's a tour bus. And he has done some conversion on it. It's not done, but the conversion has begun. There is a couch in the back. There's one other seat in the back. There's a TV. There is a mini fridge, a microwave. There are 4 bunks back there for sleeping times. And he's obviously ripped out all of the stuff, all the existing things that included rows of chairs, a wheelchair lift in the back.
So there's no lift in the back anniemore?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's been removed.
Just the door that opens to nothing.
It opens to bunks right now.
Oh, okay.
So and he put in a new flooring in it, so it's like that linoleum or laminate, like wood style, clickety clackety flooring. Looks nice.
Fake hardwood, right?
Right. And so he's done some work on it. So he's like, we had a gig this weekend, about an hour, about 2.5 hours away from where I'm at currently.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, let's take the bus, maiden voyage situation. Let's go. Let's do this. And we're like, all right, cool. So I drove an hour up to meet at our drummer's house. We met there. We practiced a little bit. We get loaded up in the bus. We load all our gear in there. We're not sleeping, right? So we're using the bunks for storage and whatnot. So there's still plenty of room for sitting and chatting and blue blah blue.
The blue blah blue
The
section.
blue blah blue. You enjoy it. We all do. Mm-hmm. So we're going up. So we load into the bus. We start heading north because that's the direction we had to go. Unnecessary details. Thank you. So we're driving up, and I'm actually driving. I'm on the freeway. The thing has a limiter on it, so we can't go past 60 comfortably. You're supposed to go around 60. So I'm not trying to go any faster than that. I'm trying to ride 60, just going boop, 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 boop. We've only been driving on the freeway for maybe 10 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And the needle, I can feel that it doesn't want to stay at 60. Like I'm at 60, but I feel the bus starting to slow, even though I'm not letting off the gas.
Mm-hmm. Are you up? Is this like up the hill? Like,
so no, I mean we're just going straight. So I'm like, well, that's not right. So I tried to give it a little bit more, and it started to speed back up a little bit, but then it did the gas. The needle went up real fast and then went nosedived. Nothing.
Oh.
And I was like, we're dead. So I pull it over in like the area. There was like a little area between the on ramp and like traffic.
Oh, the little triangle of doom?
Little triangle of doom, if you like. And so we're sitting there, and I'm like, guys, I think we're dead. So when I tried to turn it again, I'd get the click, 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 click.
The engine has just shut off completely.
The engine shut off, right.
Oof, okay.
So I'm trying to turn it on. It gives me the click, click, click like it's trying to start up, and I'm like, so there's something there, but it sounds like the engine starter's fine, whatever, but I'm like, it's probably
not turning over.
It's probably your battery or your alternator, and the guy, our lead guy, he's like, well, my uncle, who's an electrician, has like this alternator tester, and he tested it this morning. So he had this battery that he had just got charged up, and he had the alternator tested this morning, but the battery was definitely gone because it wouldn't start up. So anyways, the CDOT truck, for those that don't know, whoa, sorry if you're hearing scratchies.
That was loud.
That was loud. Sorry, listeners. Someone decided they wanted to sit at the kitchen table. How dare they? So this truck pulls up, and then they're like road maintenance dudes. They check traffic and whatever. And so he's just patrolling to make sure traffic is moving and stuff. And so he pulls over and he's like, what's up, guys? How can I help? And we're like, oh, my goodness. Stop moving the chairs.
We can edit that out. That's cool.
It's fine. No, I'm not. No. You're going to enjoy it.
Nope.
I'm not spending the time. Anyways, like you guys, but I'm not doing that. So it was like in the middle of me talking too, so it would be really hard. It would be annoying. It's fine. I'm distracted. What was I saying?
He comes up and he says, hey guys, what's going on? Is there a way I can help?
Yeah, and so they're like, well, we're dead. We think it's battery alternator. We don't know, or whatever. So he's got a little charger pack to jump you, so he pulls that out. He comes up, he hooks it up, says, give it a go. We turn it on. It turns over. Great, good. He disconnects, and the car goes, bang, and dies right away. And he's like, yeah, I think that's your alternator. And we're like, yeah, we think so too.
We gotta test it. It says.
So here's the lucky thing. So we're dead on the side of the road in the Death Triangle, which is similar to Bermuda Triangle but different. When we had all got together a couple weeks ago and like done some work on the bus together, and our drummer 2 vehicles ago had a van that he did conversion stuff to. So he had this extra battery.
Random.
He had this old school fan to, like, you know, cut down on frosty window, you know, bus style van, like fan that you turn and defrost your window and stuff like that. And
like the one like a desk fan that just like hangs from
like in
the
your
rearview
school
mirror
bus
kinda
when you
thing.
were a kid, they would have the fans and they'd point at the windshields because it helps to defrost your window.
I did not realize. I thought
that's
was
what that's.
if it was hot.
I mean, I'm sure they used it for that too, but that is one of the purposes. Is it helps to defrost your window faster from the inside. Just moving air on it and whatever.
The more you know.
So he brought all this stuff, and so we had this extra battery, and it was sitting in the bus because he's gonna
spare bus. Oh, I got a spare bus right here.
Spare battery. But no, so our band leader, he's gonna hook up all these power inverters onto these auxiliary batteries so that we, you know, and then try to hook the auxiliary batteries up to the alternator. Well, this is the
what?
This is the future idea, right? To try to charge up the batteries while we're driving, and then power the appliances off of the batteries. You know, either while we're driving or while we're not. You know, but then they don't have any variance on if the bus starts up the next day if we drain them. You know,
this is like, you know, Walt and Jesse in the middle of the desert trying to jerry rig a battery together.
Right.
Science.
Yeah. So anyway, so he had this battery for that reason, to like, you know, hook up some of these things, which none of it's done yet, right? But he just had the battery, and our drummer had charged it up, and just luckily for them, they did. And this guy came by, because we didn't have any tools with us, but this guy came by, and he had a wrench that worked well enough for them to get the old battery off and to put this new battery in so that we could drive the bus back to our drummer's house. Which is what we did. We hooked the battery up. It started right back up, and we're like, okay, so we're guessing we don't have an alternator.
We have until this battery dies.
So let's take the bus back the 10 minutes that we just drove, and we're going to load up in a couple different cars and drive up to the gig, which is what we did, and we were fine, and we made it on time, and there was actually no issue. But, you know, in the moment when we were like, there is some issue, you know, obviously we were like, we're not going to make it. This is This is bad times. So thank you, drummer. You know who you are. You might listen to this. He listens to our podcast sometimes. Shout out. So anyways, he saved the day, and yeah, it was good. So that's the story.
That is quite a story. I like that story.
Thank you.
That was pretty random that you had just a spare car battery or
it's not
battery nonetheless. Yeah,
not every day that you just have a spare battery. Throw in the thing.
Wow. Yeah. My new this week is something that I just saw pop up on the Netflix.
Ooh, okay.
If you have Netflix, I would encourage you to get into this. Supermarket Sweep
Did they
on Netflix.
Are they the old ones, or are they starting a new series of it?
It is the old ones from like 1983.
Really?
Yeah. It is great. We watched just the first episode last night, just like on look at this. Like, we've checked everything off of our list. This is our free time. We're just sitting here doing nothing, waiting for, you know, nothing. And so I was like, oh, Supermarket Sweep. Awesome. I got so excited watching that show. It was ridiculous.
That's funny.
To the point where, one of the things is like, They ask, it's like they show 3 products and they're like, which one of these is over $2? And you're like, duh, kudos candy bars, like granola bars, are way over $2, even back in the 80s. There's no way. And it's just like, that's right, $2.39. You're like, but I would have been so good on this show even though I wasn't even born. It was so good.
That's funny.
So
man.
good. And like the hair and the outfits are just amazing. Supermarket Sweep I loved that show as a kid. Like, loved that show. And it is just even better now. Like, it is so good. And it's just the most, like, random concept of a show. It's just like, we're going to test your knowledge on how well you know the grocery store. And we're going to change the layout of it every once in a while so, like, you don't know exactly where they even said, because it's weird because they started it, but it's clear that the show has actually been running for a while by the time you're actually in this episode.
Oh, well, looking at it, I'm on there right now. This is a collection, so it's not like a straight thing. And episode 1 of the collection is episode 1391. So they've had over 1,000 episodes at this point on the run.
Or is it season? Yeah, exactly. So like, it's so good though, and like all the aspects that I remember are like, obviously, because it's not like they're redoing the show, right?
Right.
Like they did do a remake of the show, and I don't know, that wasn't bad, but
no.
Yeah,
not
it's
any
just
good.
No. But it's just so good because you're just like, it's like, and he goes to the meat section and he's loading up on, it's like those hams are $79 a piece, and like, it's great. I mean, I think about that all the time when I go to the grocery store, and now I'm gonna just like relive this whole thing. And I don't know, it's just if you haven't ever seen the show, I will break it down very quickly for you.
Yeah,
there are 3 teams of 2 people each, and there's no rhyme or reason to who these people like are to each other. Like sometimes they're husband and wife, sometimes they're just like, their kids are on the same soccer team, sometimes they're brother and sister or whatever. It's just like 2 people on this team, whatever. And you answer some like fast trivia about groceries, essentially, and you're adding time and money to what'll eventually be your like sweep at the end. And so you add, like, if you get the question right, you add like 10 seconds, and there's little challenges and stuff like in the middle, but it culminates in a change of costume, which I did not realize, because like they're all wearing their like 80s garb and everything. Well, I guess let me back up. They call people out of the audience by giving people products, I guess, as they come in. Like, here, you get some shampoo, and you get a bag of Doritos, and you get a thing of bagels.
Pull a random product, and then they're like, whoever's got Cheez-Its, and they're like, that's me.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, oh, that's us. They run down. So it's instead of, come on down, your next is whatever, it's like, who's got the Doritos? And they're like, yeah. They like run down with the Doritos, and
nice.
They're on the show and everything like that. So whether that's rigged or not doesn't matter. It's all awesome, because then they get down there, they do their little trivia things, and come up with these product guesses and add like an extra 10 seconds. Because at the end, one of the 2 goes on this run where you get a shopping cart, and like if you have more time than the other 2 teams, then you start first, and then they hold off until the other team's time, like you got 20 extra seconds, so they hold the other 2s for like 20 seconds, and so on and so forth. And your goal is to run around and get as much money as much stuff for the most money that you possibly can throughout the whole grocery store. The caveat is you can only take 5 things of any one product. So if you run to get like those hams, right? You can only grab 5 of those, but they're also really big. So you also want to go and get, some of the like fancy cheeses, or you want to go and get, some of the, like this lady grabbed like a bunch of abalone, and stuff like that because it's small or whatever. But the best is there's all these like little things that like add to it as well. Like there are these inflatables and stuffed like giant like carnival size stuffed animals that are worth bonuses, and so that's another thing. Like if you take that, it's going to be big and it's going to take up space and everything. And then the other thing is that takes up time is you can grind your own coffee. So you can like go get a bag, like pick out a thing of coffee, put it through the grinder, wait for it to grind, and then wrap it up and take it. And that's $100 worth of stuff, even though the coffee doesn't cost that much actually.
Okay.
And so you could get fresh ground coffee and all this kind of different stuff.
Oh my goodness.
And you're running around at the same time as these other 2 people are running around, and there's also like some hidden things, so you try to get some clues and all that kind of different stuff to like get the special product that's going to give you extra points and all this kind of different. And it's just great because you're just panically running through the grocery store, just loading up and trying to get the most expensive stuff possible. And I guess there's like a caveat, there's like another rule that I didn't know that's in this first episode, that if you drop something like say you're pulling cans of whatever off the shelf and something falls, you have to like pick it up and put it back. So you can't just like do like a sweep.
Restock it, reshelve it.
Yeah, you can't like just leave the grocery store like a total mess and everything like that. But then if you fill up your cart, you can go back and get another cart, but it's just all the time and everything like that. So it's a fascinating show. And then they total everything up. Whatever team has the most gets to go to the last round, where they have like a little scavenger hunt puzzle where the clues lead to different products. You'll like get a clue that has some kind of like fill in the blank pun, and you're like Chips Ahoy, like go. So you run over to the cookie aisle, and then you find the specially marked box of Chips Ahoy, and you look at the clue there, and it leads you to somewhere else and everything like that to try to. So it's interesting because I think about it, I'm like, how many of these products are like regional? In this one, if you had like Tasty Cakes as your thing, like. Have you ever had Tasty Cakes?
I think I have, but you can't get them here.
Yeah, they're like an East Coast thing. And so, it would be interesting to see what their research is, to be like, no, this is a national product, and this is this, and this is... But I mean, I just remember even having gone to, Canada and trying to find, graham crackers. No graham crackers. Went to, 6 grocery stores... different
and they
actual
just don't do graham crackers up in Canada, huh?
Yeah, it was weird. And
crazy.
So that's the thing is or another experience that I had that was grocery store related. There was this girl in my apartment complex that was from Sweden. And she needed laundry detergent. She didn't know the word for laundry detergent. So she was trying to say soap for clothes and stuff like that, but she's like, it's like flour, but it's you wash your clothes, and I'm like, laundry detergent. You're talking about powdered laundry detergent. Got it. So I took her to the grocery store, just average whatever grocery store, and I'm like, okay, here's the detergent aisle, and she just was like mind blown, it's this whole aisle with every color that you can imagine of different bottles and boxes and stuff. And she's like, what do I pick? And I'm like, well, I mean, if we're supermarket sweeping these, you go with the Tide. That's obviously. But if you're going for whatever, it's well, first you have to ask yourself, it's do you want powdered or do you want liquid? Do you want softener in the detergent, or do you want softener on the side, or do you want dryer sheets, or do you want this? Do you want? And it's like, yeah, you gotta really know your grocery store and everything like that. Like I think that game, I think it would be interesting to do it backwards, as well. To this is something that my brother suggested when we were texting back and forth about it last night. It's just like you have $15 and you have to go to Whole Foods and you have to come up with a meal for 4 with like
off of 15 baht. Oh my.
And everything like that, Yeah, and that you're like denting cans to get like a discount and stuff like that. Like but yeah, I mean, it's just like, go hog wild in a grocery store and pick out the best or the most expensive stuff, and kind of like, and you and your partner, whoever they might be, you got to come up with your strategy. It's like, okay, I'm going for the chocolate first, chocolate's easy, chocolate, like it's like nobody ever thinks about that. And like, because that's the other thing too, is it's not like your neighborhood grocery store either.
Right.
So it is a game show in the fact that you have to like study the game, because like, if you go to that grocery store and you're like, it's like, like everybody goes for the tropes. They go for the hams and the turkeys and the, paper towels and the this and the that, like all this different stuff. It's like, but you know what? It's like this grocery store they might have truffles. You just got to find them.
Right.
It's like, where's the truffles? It's like, I spent the whole time looking for this like $1,000 can of, or $1,000 truffle. And it's like, well, I mean, it's in this case over here. But, I don't know. I think that show is just, oh man, it's so good. And just like answering the questions and stuff like that, it just gets me so excited. I mean, I never understood like the Price is Right, where they came up with those numbers,
Yeah.
Like I think we talked about that a little bit, where it's like, who is buying a car for $14,826?
Right.
Like, there's no way that is like that's not the advertised price.
Like, there's no way.
Like that. Give me the market price, because I'm getting screwed on this you're nickel and diming me out of my prize money, because I got 6 numbers I got to put out there, and there's no way I know where where the 7 fits in if it's not in the first 2 digits.
Right.
And everything like that. But
that's funny,
anyway,
dude.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. I'll have to check it out again. I watched it as a kid a couple of times, but I never I don't know if I ever watched a full episode. But it's kind of an ingenious idea. Everyone goes to the grocery store. You're every week someone's there looking for food and stuff, and you learn the layout and
well, the best was like Stephanie's like, because they win little prizes, and they like, you have to like sprint, right? So it's like, you have 30 seconds to go find me whatever it is, go find me the Doritos or whatever, and like one of the partners has to like sprint down, find out which aisle it's in, find the marked bag of Doritos, and run back. But this is like when there was like 2 flavors of Doritos. Like nowadays, it'd just be like, well, I'm screwed, because there's like half this aisle is freaking random flavors of Doritos. But and then you run back, because if you get back in 20 seconds, you get like $100. If you get back within 30 seconds, you get like $50. And Stephanie's like, remember when people used to do stuff for such low amounts of money? Like, it's like, $50, sure, I'll do that. Or it's just like, I'm not going on a game show unless I have the option of winning like, a couple million. So let's get that straight.
Well, still, that's nice. But if I just have to run and grab something and get back in 30 seconds, I'll take $50 for that. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's great.
But that's not game show money anymore.
No, it's not. It's really not.
Like,
well, I mean, $100,000 pyramid, like. That's what you won, $100,000.
Yeah. Have you watched The Floor is Lava?
I started it. I didn't. I got interrupted, so I didn't get. I just was like on the introduction. I didn't get into it.
Yeah.
But
because that's only a $10,000 prize.
Still, I think.
But I mean,
people should
it's
be happy.
$10,000 for. I mean, I'm not,
The
turning my
average
nose at it,
American only makes 2/3 more than that. Like that's like a third of average salary, yearly salary. So yeah, take your 10,000. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, you mean triple that, right?
Well, yeah, it's a third. Like that would be a third of a yearly salary on average.
Right.
For an average American salary.
And so, I mean, that's the thing is, yeah. At least, I don't know. The thing I like about Supermarket Sweep, I guess, versus some of these other shows is like, there's no, like, they are just pumping through it. It is like, all right, we're on to the next thing, we're on to the next thing. And whereas, like, I feel like so many shows now, it's like, you're just padding and padding. Like, deal or no deal, it's like, let's see how long this decision makes it today. I'm like, no, man, I want action. I want people sprinting in sweaters. I want people in matching sweaters sprinting around a grocery store, hauling meats and cheeses and delicacies back to their partner. Go, 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 go. And the high stakes that they might win maybe $6,000.
Right. Still.
But,
awesome.
Yeah. No, it's great. And, yeah, I mean, it would just be such... It's one of those shows that, yeah, like when you were a kid, it's like, oh, I would dominate on this show. Like, I'd be so good. And then when you get there, you're like, I couldn't find the, the marked, cherries or whatever.
Where was the milk?
Like, I couldn't find the, it's like, oh, it was a bagel. The bagels, come on, man. Like, are bagels in the bread or are they like in this like other special,
Ooh.
like on the end cap? The end cap is what screws you, man. Like, why are they pulling it out of the normal spot and putting it on the end cap?
Dude, that's the worst. Hate that. It happens too often in the grocery store. Mm-hmm. That's awesome, man. That's cool. Check it out, people. If you're not familiar with Supermarket Sweep, look it up.
Supermarket Sweep. Yeah.
Collection 1 on Netflix. It's live now. Enjoy.
Mm-hmm. So that is our show.
That's our show.
For today.
I just poked myself. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you go deal with that.
I'm fine. I'm not bleeding.
Okay. Well, we will have some more good stuff for you next time.
You know it.
If there's anything you want to let us know, in the meantime, tag and Brando at the Gmail or the Twitter or the Instagram.
Yes.
Yeah, let us know, and especially if you want to just like start chronicling your life and tweeting us and everything, like that is definitely something.
Yeah, tell us what's going on with your life.
That is going to be somebody's whole biography. Is going to be all of their tweets.
All in tweets. Let's
do
it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
But yeah, some people got some stuff to say, so say it to us, and we'll read it and see what's going on with you.
Sounds good.
Anyway, we'll talk to you guys next week. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Bye.